Congress. So, are doubts growing about Trump's vision both for the economy and for the United States' place in the world? Joining me now is a co-sponsor of that Senate resolution, Chris Coons is a Democratic senator for Delaware. Senator, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you, sir.
Thanks, David. Great to be on with you again.
You got this through the Senate. It seems unlikely, though, that this will be picked up or passed by the House. What effect do you hope this has on this tariff agenda from the president?
Well, I hope it sends a strong signal to President Trump and his core team that there is bipartisan support for ending the fake emergency that he used as the basis for slapping unjustified tariffs on one of our closest and most vital partners in the world, Canada. And I don't know how it will fare in the House, but there are many states, like my home state of Delaware, where Canada is both our biggest export market and the country from which we import more than any other. Canada is a critical central trading partner for a majority of American states. So my hope is that House members will listen to their angered constituents who complain about these tariffs and move to reverse them.
I don't mean to sound cynical or pessimistic, but I've seen nothing from Speaker Johnson or the other Republicans that is a likely outcome here, right? They seem to be all in on the MAGA agenda the president is pushing here.
That's true. The vast majority of Republicans in the House and Senate are doing whatever it is that President Trump asks them. This is a very disappointing chapter in modern American history. From folks who for decades have been free traders, who voted for or championed Trump's updating of NAFTA, the USMCA, the modernized trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico that Trump himself signed into law in his first term. If we slap tariffs on all of our close partners and allies around the world, who's going to be interested in a free trade agreement with the United States in the future? And my Republican colleagues have mostly been the champions of free trade in recent decades. It's a stunning about-face.
You know, the Senate resolution rebuked the president's agenda. Canada's hit retaliatory tariffs. The stock market has lost trillions in value over the months, and yet the president persists. So how can he be convinced to change course here?
It may be difficult. Look, this is one of the few real convictions President Trump has. He's been championing the idea of using tariffs to restore American manufacturing for decades. So he is someone who has changed his views on lots of different subjects. This may be one that's difficult to dislodge. But the main markets here have lost 4 or 5% of their value just today. A large reason why President Trump was elected was millions of Americans who were sick of high prices. This was the inflation hangover from the pandemic. And he's done nothing to lower prices. In fact, he's raising prices. Housing costs and grocery costs are a major concern for middle Americans. Yet a majority of the fruits and vegetables we eat in the winter come from Mexico, and a majority of the softwood lumber we need to build housing and the drywall we need to build housing come from Canada and Mexico. So these tariffs will do nothing to help improve the cost of living for middle Americans. He may be getting a double whammy in the months ahead, complaints from constituents who previously supported him, and a negative review from the marketplace.
We've heard Howard Lutnick and the president and others say that this is going to repatriate jobs, that the auto tariffs in particular they think will draw industry back to the United States. I know it was about a decade and a bit ago that the Wilmington assembly plant in Delaware closed. Do you think it can work to bring it back? Do you buy this argument that it can rebuild an industry that they say has been lost to other countries?
Look, I've worked hard on trying to strengthen and restore American manufacturing. I spent 8 years working for a global manufacturing company headquartered in Delaware, and I'd like nothing more than to see automobile manufacturing come back to Delaware. But big companies that invest in major manufacturing plants don't make decisions on a whimsical path of slapping on tariffs, pulling them back, putting on tariffs, pulling them back. Most major companies will look at this moment with Donald Trump and question whether these tariffs will really stay in place all that long. It takes years to plan, to invest in buying the site, to build the new facility. I'm not sure we're going to see a significant increase in manufacturing as a result of these tariffs. And I did see one thing that happened yesterday that made me even more skeptical. There is a nationwide program here called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership that helps small and medium manufacturers be competitive and successful. And Trump's Department of Commerce just defunded it yesterday. So I'm not sure how serious they really are about good policy on manufacturing.
You know, we're talking about sort of the continent, certainly the bilateral trading relationship, and more broadly the continental trading relationship. But what we saw yesterday were tariffs kind of scattershot right around the globe. You know, 20% on the European Union, 10% on the United Kingdom, even tariffs on an island that's only inhabited by penguins. So the strategy behind it all mystifies me a little bit. But Prime Minister Mark Carney essentially said today that the 80-year period where the U.S. embraced the mantle of global economic leadership is over. What are your thoughts when you hear the Prime Minister of Canada, even in the middle of an election, saying something about that, about the U.S.?
Well, it hurts my heart to contemplate the very real possibility that under Trump's leadership, we are giving up the mantle of being one of the world's most important humanitarian countries and economic leaders. The shutdown of our foreign aid programs around the world abruptly is causing dozens of countries to lose faith in our partnership. And these stupid tariffs, I mean, this is not smart economic policy. This is simple stupidity. To slap huge tariffs on uninhabited islands, to put double-digit tariffs on our closest allies and partners, but no more tariffs on Russia, does not seem to me to be smart security policy or economic policy.
Why do you think Russia was left off the list? A lot of people point to Russia, they point to North Korea, and then, you know, Canada feels like it was minding its own business and it's been dragged into a trade war. But some of the real bad actors globally are just left unscathed.
I think it suggests that this was done in a haphazard way. The economic analysis underlying these tariffs is very difficult to understand. It seems disorganized and incoherent, frankly. And Canada, let's be blunt, was doing more than just minding its own business. When Trump came into office, several ministers from the Canadian government and your very talented ambassador came and offered significant improved partnerships and investment on national security and on border security. Canada tried hard to meet the expectations and demands of the Trump administration, and that they nonetheless went ahead with tariffs, I think is a sad moment in our long and close partnership. Canada is one of our most trusted allies from around the world, the biggest trading partner of my state and many years of our country, and so I think this is not a great moment for U.S. leadership on economic issues or on security issues.
Okay, Senator, I know you have to go because there's votes and things happening, but one last quick question. The Prime Minister here said this is not going to end soon, that we need to be prepared for a sustained period of economic pain that will require sacrifice. What do you see as the horizon for when this may potentially be resolved? Could it take until the midterms, or could it be done before that?
I hope that it's resolved before then, because I think this is actually going to end up harming Americans and the American economy and American leadership more than it will ever help us. But President Trump is unpredictable. Look, if there's one quality he promised that he has overperformed on, it's that he'll be unpredictable. So it's very difficult to come up with any estimate of how long he might impose these costs on American consumers. But this new Trump tariff tax is going to be a memorable chapter in his second term as our president. I just hope that the cuts and the damage that it causes to Americans and American leadership are not too deep and not too lasting.
Senator Chris Coons, we appreciate you squeezing us in on a busy day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David.